Hey guys, it's your girl Melissa, right? So this message is about post-traumatic stress disorder, and I know I always do different types of subject, but I want people to understand what happens during post-traumatic stress disorder. Excuse me. Post-traumatic stress disorder is definitely a time capsule. It erases all of your good memories, and it makes you forgetful. And also it impacts you to the point where as though you can't even communicate, right? It keeps you in a time capsule. So wherever your trauma is, I don't know, some people have several trauma, some people have a little bit of trauma. Any type of trauma is impacted, right? And your brain keeps a record of this trauma. So what your body reacts to the trauma, and it keeps you in that state over and over and over. Whereas though you can't even bring in the good memories because your mind is so fixated on this event, right? Trying to get out this time capsule, trying to get out this trauma. Like it's fighting, it's fighting, right? Because your brain stays in the loop like this over and over and over every day. It stays in that loop, and that is so sad because you become numb. You're not allowing yourself to feel the pain. You're not allowing yourself to feel the joys. You're just in a state of living. You're just existing, and you're in war with your mind. You're in war with your experience. You're in war with your mind. You're in war with yourself. And that is scary for a lot of people because you don't know where to turn at or who to trust. And most people who experience post-traumatic stress disorder that I've seen are afraid of people. Everyone that experienced post-traumatic stress disorder that I seen, that I know, and I've seen and known a lot of people that experience post-traumatic stress disorder are afraid of connection of people. They're afraid of being hurt. They're afraid of something happening. They're afraid of hurting people or someone hurting them. They're afraid of connection. Do y'all, like, this is for real? This is happening. This is the reality of people who has post-traumatic stress disorder. They're so numb. They don't feel, they don't see. They're just in a state of a time capsule or whenever the trauma happens. And it's scary. People that experience sexual abuse, people that experience war, killing, people that experience neglect, abandonment, period, people that experience any type of trauma. Anything can be traumatic, right? Neglect can be traumatic. Physical abuse can be traumatic. Someone talking bad to you can be traumatic. Someone putting you down can be traumatic. Someone calling you dumb can be traumatic. Someone calling you fat, ugly can be traumatic. Anything can be traumatic. And this is why we stay in those fear modes, right? Because really what's happening with PTSD is that we are scared. We are scared of our reality. We are scared of the truth. So then we keep our brain in this loophole. And then on top of that, we always are listening to the outside, right? Most people that has PTSD are always thinking about what other people think, how other people feel, what they're going to say. So then we're forced, a lot of people who has PTSD are forced to keep this image or this illusion or whatever the case may be in order to maintain their life. But they're not really living. They're just existing. And I can personally speak for that because that's how I felt for so long. I'm just existing. I'm just awoke. I'm just numbed out and I'm just walking. Even though I know half the shit don't make sense. I'm like, I know this doesn't make sense. I know that doesn't make sense. How did I even get here, right? And that's why a lot of us feel OCD, bipolar, anxiety, depression, psychosis. All of that shit in the nutshell is all the same if you think about it. You know, they all gives you confusion. They all gives you worrisome. They all gives you anxiety. They all keeps you in a state of panic, in a state of stagnation, in a state of wanting to keep everything the same. You can't do that in life. We can't keep everything the same. There's no such thing. Kids are changing, we're changing. Everything is about evolving, but we are so afraid to evolve. We are so afraid to get to that next level because of our trauma. And then we keep going to the traumatic experience. And then we stay in that state. And then we feel sorry for ourselves. And then we start crying. And then we look for validation. And then we get scared of people. You have to stop. We have to stop. I have to stop. We all as a community need to actually get together and actually talk about this. Because guess what? It's happening to everyone across the world. Everyone is impacted. Nobody escapes trauma. Nobody escapes anxiety. Nobody escapes depression. You just learn better coping skills. We don't have the appropriate coping skills to deal with this. And then they give us medication, right? Take this med. When you take those medications, I'm not saying some of them don't work, because some of them do. However, some of them also creates more stress, more depression, more anxiety, more things, right? More sicknesses to us. And it's like, yo, we are definitely living in our brains with a lie and knowing it's a lie. And all we want to do is escape our own self. We should not want to escape our own self. We should want to be engulfed in ourselves, in love with ourselves. But instead, we learn to hate ourselves. We learn to dislike ourselves. We learn to believe something else than our own self. We learn to believe another person's reality than our own experiences. That doesn't make sense. None of this shit makes sense. PTSD, we should not be looking at it like that. We shouldn't be going through this. But imagine if all we feel is when negative channels, negative. When you watch the media, it's negative. Your family may be negative. Your friends may be negative. And everything is so negative. But then when you look at things in a retrospect, there's a lot of positive in the world. There's lots. Maybe more positive than negative. And people are not as bad as people think. But then we become afraid of all these people, right? Think about it, guys. I want y'all to really start taking time out of your day to think. Because even I'm thinking more, and even I'm analyzing more, and I'm like processing more, and I'm like doing things more. And we're so used to being weak, right? We're so used to being drained that when we have energy, we think we're not supposed to have energy. When we have passion, we think we're not supposed to have passion. We don't know what that is because we numbed out our feelings. But we're supposed to have passion. We're supposed to have energy. We're supposed to want to get up in the morning. We're supposed to want to do things. But instead, we actually think it's more normal to be depressed, to have anxiety, to be sad. Because we've been taught that. But when you're kids, you're not depressed. You're not sad. I mean, unless something happens to y'all. But naturally, kids are happy beings. Naturally, kids want to connect. Naturally, kids love. Kids, that's how we need to get back to that place of love, that place of happiness, that place of strength. But instead, we become more in tune with the negative, that we think that's more normal than to be happy. Instead of what's actually normal is happiness versus that. Something to think about when you're going through your depression, anxiety, and things of that nature. You know, I definitely want to tell you to take time to think. Like, get a meditation tape. You know, take time to really process what's normal, what's not. Take time to write, guys. Write everything so you can remember things, because we are all so forgetful. A lot of us forget the happy moments in our life. Do you really think your whole life is based off a traumatic experience? Do you think that trauma experience now changed you forever because of what somebody else did to you? More than 9 times out of 10, somebody else created your trauma, not even yourself. Guys, really start to think about this. Even I'm thinking about this. It makes me sick that we got to go through this shit, but it's real. We have to start sticking up for ourselves. We have to start being vocal about it. We need to start addressing the real issues and not taking our energy that don't belong to us. Give that energy back to it who is owner, because most of the time our PTSD is caused and triggered by somebody else's behavior. I just want y'all to take time to think about that. And I'm really passionate about this work, about PTSD and everything, because we suffer with this every day. People who has these mental health issues, it's not a game, it's for real. Later, guys.